Here's a question most people haven't stopped to ask. When was the last time a K-pop artist signed not one, but two major Netflix film deals in completely opposite genres while simultaneously performing at the FIFA World Cup opening ceremony, headlining Coachella, and preparing the first ever K-pop Las Vegas residency? The answer is never. Until now. Her name is Lalisa Manoban. You know her as Lisa from Blackpink. But the entertainment industry is starting to know her as something else entirely, a multi-hyphenate force who has quietly, methodically, and deliberately began repositioning herself not as a K-pop star in Hollywood, but as a full Hollywood player who happens to have K-pop roots. And here's what makes this story genuinely fascinating. She's doing it quietly, no grand declarations, no splashy magazine covers screaming "I'm crossing over," no manufactured drama. Just moves. Calculated, strategic, industry-shaking moves. One after another. Today, we're breaking down the full blueprint from the legal and business foundations she laid at Lude to the jaw-dropping strategic intelligence behind her dual Netflix film slate, to what it all means for the future of global entertainment. If you think you know Lisa's story, I promise you don't know all of it yet. Let's get into it. To understand what Lisa is doing in Hollywood right now, you have to go back to February 2024. That's when she did something that most K-pop artists dream about but rarely execute. She walked away from the traditional system entirely, and she launched her own artist management company, Elod. Now, let's be clear about why that matters. For most K-pop artists, especially those who reach global superstardom, there is an invisible ceiling. Your label owns your creative output. Your schedule is dictated by committee. Your international deals go through layers of management who may or may not understand the Western entertainment landscape. You are, in a very real sense, a product. Lisa opted out. With Lude, she controls her own narrative. And the infrastructure she built around that company reads like a masterclass in industry architecture. She partnered with RCA Records for international music distribution, one of the most powerful labels in the world, home to artists like Beyoncé, Foo Fighters, and Alicia Keys. That relationship puts her music in front of the exact same global promotional machinery that handles the biggest Western artists on the planet. She signed with WME, William Morris Endeavor, for talent representation. WME is not a K-pop agency. WME represents Adele. They represent Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Billie Eilish. When Lisa walks into a room with a WME agent, she's walking in with the same level of representation as the biggest names in Hollywood. And here's the genius of it. She didn't blow up her K-pop foundation to do this. BLACKPINK continued. The Deadline World Tour continued. The group's momentum continued. She simply added the infrastructure she needed for the next phase, without destroying what got her there. Think of it like this. Most artists build a house and then knock it down when they want something bigger. Lisa built a second house and made the first one look even better in the process. That's the foundation. Now let's talk about what she's building on top of it. Let's talk about Takeover. On the surface, it sounds like a straightforward casting announcement. Lisa from BLACKPINK joins a Netflix action film. But when you dig into what Takeover actually is, and who it puts her alongside, you start to understand the strategic gravity of this decision. Takeover is not a standalone film. It is a new chapter in Netflix's Extraction universe, the action franchise that launched with Chris Hemsworth in 2020, a film that became one of the most watched movies in Netflix history. The sequel, Extraction 2, drew in over 150 million viewing hours in its first month. This is a franchise with an already built, massive, globally engaged audience. And the character she's playing, Rhea, is not a cameo. She plays Rhea opposite Don Lee, also known as Ma Dong-seok, the Korean-American actor who became a global phenomenon through Marvel's Eternals, and has built arguably the most powerful action star persona in Asian cinema right now. Her second major co-star is Lee Jin-wook, widely recognized from Netflix's global hit Squid Game. Think about the optics of that lineup for a moment. You have a Korean-American Marvel actor, a Squid Game star, and Lisa. Three performers with combined global fan bases numbering in the hundreds of millions. On a Netflix platform with over 300 million subscribers worldwide. In a franchise that has already proven it can generate historic viewership numbers. If Takeover performs the way the talent and platform suggest it could, and there's every reason to believe it will, Lisa will not be seen as a K-pop crossover. She will be seen as a legitimate action star. Full stop. But here's the layer that most coverage is missing. The film is set within Korea's criminal underworld. The story follows a former child soldier turned mercenary on a revenge mission through Seoul. It is not set in a K-pop video treatment of Korea. It is gritty, global, cinematic storytelling, the kind of story that Western audiences have proven, through the Squid Game phenomenon, that they are deeply hungry for. Lisa's casting in that world, in that franchise, is not just a music star dipping into film. It's a calculated entry into the specific genre, action cinema with Korean roots, that has the highest commercial ceiling for an international audience right now. She read the room, and she stepped into exactly the right one. Now, here's where it gets truly interesting. Because right alongside the gritty action franchise, Lisa is developing a second Netflix film, and it could not be more different. An untitled romantic comedy, inspired by the 1990s classic Notting Hill. A film in which she is not just starring, but co-executive producing. Let's pause on that. The person writing the script for this romantic comedy is Katie Silberman, a writer whose credits include Booksmart and Set It Up, and who co-wrote Don't Worry, Darling. Silberman is not a B-team writer. She is one of the most in-demand writers for elevated, intelligent romantic comedies in Hollywood. The project is being produced by David Bernard, who also happens to be an executive producer on the White Lotus. The same White Lotus in which Lisa made her acting debut as Mook, earning genuine critical praise in a role that challenged her as a performer. So this isn't a vanity project. The talent assembled around Lisa in this romantic comedy is the kind of creative team that signals Netflix is betting seriously on this film. And strategically, the dual-genre approach is nothing short of brilliant. Here's the logic. If you build your entire film identity around one genre, you're always perceived as that type of actor. You become associated with one lane. But if you establish yourself simultaneously across two completely opposite genres at the same platform, with comparable quality creative teams, you signal to the industry that you are not a niche act. You are a full-spectrum performer. Think about what that does for her brand. The Taegeo audience? Action fans, extraction fans, Korean cinema enthusiasts, the Don Lee fan base. They see a fierce, credible action presence. The romantic comedy audience? A completely different demographic, people who watch prestige Netflix rom-coms, fans of sharp, warm storytelling, an audience who may have never engaged with K-pop once in their lives. Lisa captures both rooms, simultaneously. With the same name on the poster, there's also a deeper business layer here. As a co-executive producer on the romantic comedy, she is not just a performer, she is a decision-maker. She has a seat in the creative conversations about script, tone, casting, and direction. She's building production experience and industry relationships that will compound in value over the next decade. This is not someone who said yes to a film offer. This is someone who is architecting a body of work. Let's zoom out now. Because the specific projects are compelling, but the pattern is what's extraordinary. Look at the architecture of what Lisa has built just in the past 2 years. She graduated from Blackpink's global stage without leaving it. She launched a fully independent management company with professional-grade infrastructure. She made her acting debut in a prestige HBO limited series, one that critics named among the best TV of 2025. She's entering a billion-dollar Netflix action franchise. She's developing a prestige romantic comedy as a producer. She performed at the FIFA World Cup opening ceremony, watched by hundreds of millions globally. She announced the first K-pop Las Vegas residency in history. She has a documentary in production at Sony Music Vision tracking all of it. Now compare that to how most international stars have tried to make it in Hollywood. The traditional playbook is loud. Big talk, bigger promises. Cameos in franchise films as minor supporting players. English-language pop singles positioned as crossover records. Magazine features declaring Hollywood's next global star years before the work actually materializes. And most of the time, it doesn't work. Because hype without foundation collapses. Lisa's playbook is the opposite. No grand declarations. No I'm conquering Hollywood interviews. The work simply appears, fully formed, with serious collaborators attached, on platforms with global reach, in genres with mass appeal. This is the same model that has actually worked for international stars who crossed over durably. Think of how quietly Daniel Craig became James Bond before the world fully processed it. Think of the way Parasite director Bong Joon-ho built a decade of international credibility before the Oscars arrived. The common thread? The strategy was visible only in retrospect. In the moment, it just looked like a series of good decisions. That's what Lisa is doing. And there's one more element that ties this all together, one that most people overlook entirely: the documentary. Produced by Sony Music Vision and directed by acclaimed director Soo Kim, the documentary follows Lisa through a year of her life as she navigates this historic solo chapter. It is not a concert film. It is not a promotional piece. It is a feature-level documentary tracking the journey of an artist building something genuinely unprecedented. When that documentary drops, it will serve as the definitive narrative frame for everything she's built. The Elude founding, the White Lotus debut, Takeover, the rom-com, the Las Vegas residency, the FIFA stage. Seen in isolation, each of those is an impressive achievement. Seen together, in a documentary that tells the story as a journey, that is a legacy document. That is the thing journalists will reference in 10 years when they write about how the Kpop to Hollywood pipeline was first genuinely mastered. Here's the question I want to leave you with. We are watching, right now, the very early chapters of what could become the most complete crossover of an Asian entertainer into Western mainstream culture that we have ever seen. Not just in music, not just in fashion, but in film, in business, in cultural architecture. And the most remarkable thing about it is how little noise it's making while it happens. Lisa is not asking Hollywood to take her seriously. She's making Hollywood realize it already does. The 2 Netflix films will arrive. The Las Vegas residency will happen. The documentary will contextualize all of it. And at some point in the not-too-distant future, the mainstream entertainment press will run a cover story breathlessly asking, how did Lisa from BLACKPIN quietly become one of the most powerful entertainment forces in the world? And those of us watching closely right now will already know the answer. She told us exactly who she was. We just had to listen. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective on what's happening in global entertainment, drop a comment below. I genuinely want to know, do you think Lisa's Hollywood strategy will hold? Can Takeover launch her as an action star the way the Extraction franchise launched others? And if you're new here, this channel is built for people who want to understand the business and strategy behind pop culture, not just the surface-level gossip. Hit subscribe and the notification bell, because the next video in this series is going to blow your mind just as much as this one. Until then, stay sharp. The most interesting things in entertainment are almost always the ones happening quietly.